Good morning guys, welcome back. Gonna head down to the reef again today. Still northerly, the water's really clear, crystal clear actually. Gonna chuck some surface lures about, hopefully get a January bass. Don't know what month I'm in. We will chuck a couple of big baits off the end of the rocks. We'll see what we can get our hands on. Looks really good down there today. I'll get some drone shots too. Messed up the drone shots yesterday. I didn't really check the area around me before I sent the drone up, and there was a lot of bad writing on one of the little groins, so I decided just not to use the footage. Didn't think it was worth it. But the clarity in the water today, sort of perfect for surface lures. Give you a little look from up here. There's quite a lot of people out today. Should be able to see down there alright. Got some really clear water to fish into today. Pretty much no movement on the top at all. Should be good. Right, catch up with you guys when I'm walking out onto the rocks. What we're doing now is we're just going to walk along the bottom of Saltdean Steps ledge. We're going to find a spit to go and fish from. A spit is a group of rocks that stick out further than the others. What you can do if you get a nice one, you can sort of fish around it in a half circle, reach a lot of different areas. You can either choose to fish off the end of it into some slightly deeper water, or you can fish close in off the sides in the shallow stuff, which bass really like. So I'm not sure if you guys can see, but there's a couple of spits just in front of me now over to the right. I'm either going to fish from the first or the second spit. I've got a lot of gear on me and I don't really want to walk too far, so we'll get out on the rocks and then we'll set the gear up. I've got two normal sized rods to chuck out, 2 fishing rods, surf casters. We'll chuck those out with some big baits on, and I've got some lures and my lure rod with me today, so we'll chuck that around a bit and see if we can pick up any action on the GoPro. We're just very carefully walking down to the mark now. I'll wear crampons, which are spikes that go onto the bottom of your shoes, and you don't slide around at all when you're wearing them, but it's pretty dodgy ground to be walking over, especially with a lot of gear. I've got my big Dawa rucksack on me, which is like sort of a tank of a bag, fit a lot of stuff in it. Should we jump up from, I'm not sure. Yeah, let's go up a tiny bit. I've got new boots on today, which are waterproof up to about 3 or 4 inches of water, so I can be a little bit less careful when I'm walking across these rocks. Normally I'd have Air Maxes on and my feet would be soaked within a little while of fishing, which is never nice. Here looks alright. Hopscotching over the gullies, get to my mark. It's all about planning ahead, working out where you're going to put your foot next, and working out where you're going to go if you do fall. You ought to be dead careful walking across these rocks. As you get further east along this mark, there's some gullies which are really deep, and if you fell down one of those you'd be in serious trouble. I'd say you'd be stuck. The tide will probably come in and that's you're a goner. unless you can get help. So I'll fish this mark today because it's relatively flat. Should be some fairly stable ground to put the rock stand up on. It's a good place to come foraging as well down here. Sometimes get the odd lobster, I've heard of it. Get a lot of prawns in the rock pools. Lots of little blennies and bait fish. Get some wrasse and tiny little small pouting. Lots of crab. Get a lot of peeler crab down there. Big spider peeler crabs in the spring. Good bass bait. It's definitely a good way to test that, to see how stable the GoPro is, and I'm bouncing all over the place doing this. Ah, the water's just so clear and calm today. So this is the spit I was talking about. It goes out, tide's not fully out yet, it'll go out a lot further. As it gets further out the ground sort of gets more mucky and a bit more aggressive. But it's definitely a good mark. I've had a lot of bass off this exact spot on surface lures. My biggest bass on this mark is £8, maybe just over. But it's a good mark to set the rod stand up, and it's also a good mark to get out and chuck some lures off. And you can see the water's just absolutely crystal today. So I think what we'll do is we will get the rod stand set up and thrown out, and we'll get the tripod set up and you guys can watch me cast out a few lures. Guys, I'm going to show you again how you make the running ledger rig that I use for catching everything. Slider, 5-ounce sled. You can use different sizes, it doesn't matter. You're going to run the slider on the line, pull the line through. Just let that go off, you don't need that now. And then what we're going to put on is a bead. And this is going to stop the slider of the weight hitting the knot that we're going to make to tie onto the swivel. You're going to put the bead on the line. That's that. And then a barrel swivel, which is this. Now we're going to tie that on. And we're 60% done now. Fastest way to make a fisherman's knot is just to twist the swivel 7 times. Once you've done that 7 times, lick it, pop the tag through the eye, and then we're going to pull it tight. And because we've wet it, it's not going to burn the line. And that's that. That's the first bit. Now what we're going to do is we're going to get some slightly stronger line, and we're going to put one hand out, and then we're going to put the other hand out, and you want a piece of the start of the line in the end of the thumb and the other side of the line in the other thumb when both arms are out, and that's going to give you about a 5 to 6 foot trace depending on how long your arms are. It doesn't matter too much. Once we've cut that, we're now going to tie the stronger line that we've just cut, and we're going to tie it straight onto the line of the reel. 7 times, remember. 7 times every time. Remember to lick it as well. And then just pull that tight. You can use your finger to push it down a little bit if you want. Now we've got the end of our line. I'm just going to make sure that's not too long. No, that's perfect for me. We've got a 6-ounce Aberdeen, which is perfect for baiting up a squid. I showed you guys how to bait up a squid with no bait elastic yesterday. 7 times every time. Put that through the tag, pull it tight. Now it's best to trim this tag end up on the end of the hook. I didn't show you guys that yesterday, but if you try and pull this through a bait, you're going to pull the bait apart because it's a lot to pull through. So just trim that up. And that's it, that's the rig done, that's ready to go. Right, I'll catch up with you guys in a minute when I'm putting the bait on. Look at that. Right, remember, same as what I said yesterday, guys. Through the top, come out, twist and pull, right, through one side, twist and pull, through the other side again, twist and pull. Now you want the hook to come out through the middle of the head, really, because that's what's going to keep the hook the straightest. Come out through the middle, make sure it's in the middle if you can, keep playing with it until you get it right. Twist and pull, go in through the body, and then come out of the head, pull it tight, loop around the top, that's it, that is not going anywhere. Same again, through the top, come out, twist and pull, through one side, twist and pull, through the other side, twist and pull, lastly through the middle, twist, pull, in the body, out through the head, pull it tight, loop a couple of times around the top. That's going to hold your bait on. That's it, that's ready to go. See you in a minute when I cast these out. Remember, always bring the lure as close to you as you can. You'd be surprised how close a bass will take one. And they are in shallow water as well, that's a fact. They do come really close in. Remember what I said before, guys, when you're fishing the reef, you want to get your gear back, go tight to your line, reel down a little bit, pull up hard as fast as you can, and then reel super quick. You'll get your gear back almost every time. There you go, there's one. And again. Down, up hard, fast, and real super quick. And again, it's definitely a workout, but it's worth it just to get your gear back almost every time. There's our bait from earlier, look. See, exactly as we sent it out, hook's exposed. It's exactly how you want it. Nothing less than perfect. Right, I'm going to move the rod stand just over to this spit over here so I can just get my baits a little bit further out. I'll stick one over to the right, one over to the left. Right guys, I'm going to give you a little tutorial on how to make a mackerel squid wrap. I know a lot of you probably do already know how to do it, but I've got quite a few friends who are talking to me that haven't really been fishing yet. Maybe they used to go as a kid and they don't know this stuff, so I'm going to start from the beginning. This is my bait elastic. I use a this is just a little e-cig battery box, and I keep it in there and it seems to do quite well. Keeps everything nice and tidy. That's what I say, fishing's about, for me, I like to be neat and tidy when I'm doing my fishing. It means everything, when I go to get it, it's there and it's ready to use. And I used to fish, I used to just throw everything in a bucket and it would absolutely stink, and I'd end up throwing loads of things away, and there'd be certain things that I couldn't use. I used to blunt all my knives, but I feel like I've come a fair way since then, and I tend to just do everything properly now. It just makes the experience better overall. So what you're going to start with, just make sure you guys can see what I'm seeing. Just going to adjust the camera a little bit for you. We start off with filleting a mackerel. This one is still a little bit frozen, so I mean, this one's pretty much, I took a side off it for yesterday's video. So all I'm going to do is just pull this fin up, get this out of the way. We don't need that. Not going to be using it. Scrape that away. Cut the fillet just behind the head. Keep the heads, and I'll show you why in another video. Don't ever leave the tail on, that causes the bait to spin when it's in the water and your line will come up all messy. Chop that. I'll throw that away actually, don't need that. And then if you want, you can fillet it and get rid of the bone, but you don't really need to. For a wrap, I like to cut the fillet in half. Give yourself a line to follow. And then just cut that like that. You can use either side of this. The white side's quite nice because it's quite bright. Grab yourself your squid. I like to leave the head on for this. Cut the squid in half. Unless you're fishing for like big bass or something, you can you can put the squid on that hole. You just cut it in half, makes it a little bit smaller. Now what we're going to do is sort of just squeeze it together. And this is still quite a big bait, even as it is. Start yourself off. Now pull your bait to exactly where you want it, it'll stay there now. And start from the bottom, wrapping it up nice and tight. One thing I'd like to note is that these are really oily, juicy baits, and you can see just the amount of oil and fish juice and all that lovely stuff that's all over my hands. So the reason why I like to leave the head on is because it does make the bait look a lot more natural. Make sure everything's nice and tidy. I don't know if you guys noticed, but I did cut this bait in sort of a triangular and like an angled pattern, and the reason for that is, one, it feels really nice to bait that up, and two, it's very aerodynamic, and you'll still get a really good cast with that, and it is also the perfect shape for most fish to take that. So that's a mackerel squid wrap. Here we go, guys. I'm going to cast this out now. This is the mackerel squid wrap that we just made. Right, now I always like to leave a fair bit of line coming to the weight. You get a much better cast. And when you cast, don't bend your arms. Have your arms straight. And that's sort of the technique I use for casting out. Perfect. Remember, like I said yesterday, keep your lines bent. That way, if you get slack lined by anything, you're going to see the rod tip just pop up, and then you know you're into a fish or something's bumped your lead. You don't know until you pick it up, and that's the fun of it. When you've got your rods out and you've got some bait on and you think you might have a little nibble, but you're not 100% sure what to do, I think the best thing you can do in that situation is to pick up the rod very gently, and there's a way to feel if there's a bite on there or not, and that's to, for example, if I can see little twitches and taps happening, it could be any fish just sat on the bait nibbling away at it. What you should do in that situation is pick up the rod gently so as not to move the bait around too much, and put your finger on the line and just gently pull the tip of the rod up until you can feel your bait at the bottom. And at that point you'll be able to feel if there is a bite there, you'll feel it straight away and you can tug into it, and then you've got the fish on. So yeah, guys, tide's starting to come in now. Not really had much luck with anything today. The water started off nice and clear and turned murky. I thought that would have been good for some bait fishing. Things don't always go as planned. Probably going to give it about another 10 minutes and start packing things away. I'll be down here again in no time. I'm always fishing this reef. Was hoping to go to Seaford Beach today, but with the lockdown restrictions, I don't think it's a good idea. It's sort of going against what everyone's saying, so best to stick local. Just lucky we can go fishing, really.